Pike's pioneers gained initial notoriety in Acropolis from their victory over Slaughterhouse. Stories of Pike in a one-on-one duel with a butcher would warrant such tales. In nature, the big always eye the small, and today, House Goliath wants to put their foot down and stamp out the embers of this growing charter.
Alright, welcome back to MGM, a great place for casual gaming. Today we have an exciting matchup where House Goliath launches an attack on the Ironhead Prospectors. A look at the campaign table shows House Goliath at 3-0, and while they hope to remain perfect, they will need to beat a formidable 1-0 Prospector gang today. We've established a cutoff line where all gangs are hoping to stay above. The Forge of House Goliath has gained downtime credits. They add a Zerker named Humongous and a Forge boss named Ajax. He has the Berserker skill and carries a Servo Claw and Chainsword. He's Vatborn with Dermal Hardening. For advancements, the Bruiser Nuke gains a point of willpower. The Forge has 10 fighters and a total wealth of 1415. Pike's Pioneers started off with a tie that led to a victory against the Corpse Grinder cult in episode 18. We'll be seeing them on the field a lot to catch them up in the campaign. The Pioneers have no fighters in recovery, and with 55 credits in the bank, they elect to keep them and make no changes. Today's scenario is Last Stand, and House Goliath will be our attackers today. The battlefield is standard. Crews are custom D3+6 with reinforcements for House Goliath. They roll up for 8 on the board, but have a starting crew of 10. Pike's Pioneers have a crew of D3+5 and get their entire crew as well. The Pioneers will gain home turf advantage in this one, rolling 2d6 for bottles, and discarding the highest. They also get +1 to rally tests. Tactics cards will be custom 2 for the attacker and random 2 for the defender. The underdog will also generate an additional card for the Pioneers. For deployment, Pike's Pioneers will drop their entire crew within 6 inches of the center of the board. House Goliath will deploy their entire crew within 2 inches of board edges. The objective is for the defender to hold against the onslaught. If the defender can survive with active fighters until the start of round 7, they will be victorious. Otherwise, victory goes to the attacker. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch our battle reports. If you have any questions on the table, the terrain, anything that you see today, feel free to leave a comment down below. I always look forward to reading those. And crews have been deployed across the board. We will make a slight modification to this scenario. Traditionally, when you play, the attacker can bring on injured fighters from reinforcements without them taking any kind of injury. We are not going to play that way, so if you go out of action in this game, it will count as normal. As we gear up for turn 1, priority goes over to House Goliath, and we're ready to get underway. House Goliath activates one of their gangers, Buster, who makes his 4-inch move, eyes an opportunity with his grenade launcher, elects to fire a frag grenade. He has a ballistic skill of 4, but getting a -2 modifier for targeting terrain, and the shot misses. He needed a 6 there. The grenade scatters to nowhere, and the squad decides to return fire. Grom aims to a 3, but partial cover offsets this back to a 4. Rapid fire 2 on this autogun, he is going to miss. The leader of the Goliath gang, Steel Toe, elects to move forward twice. This will get a reaction from the Exo Drill as it moves into a position as well. The Brute should have fired his Seismic Crusher here, which is a template weapon, but he does not. As we go back to House Goliath, Scorch moving 8 inches, selecting to use both actions to move. Thornton uses a move to reposition. His Ironhead bolt gun will then fire at Steel Toe. Rapid fire 2 with his ballistic skill of 4, and the shot misses. The new Forge boss, Ajax, will use both of his actions to move. The Prospectors send Orin forward with his Melt-A-Gun. Up next, the Zerker Humongous is going to reposition. The Prospectors activate Ullman, sending him behind Orin. The Stemmer Scud uses both actions to move. The Chartermaster Pike uses both of his actions to move as well. Another Bruiser for House Goliath elects to move twice, getting out of line of sight and cover. The Drillmaster Jarl with his Ironhead Heavy Stubber will reposition. The rest of the actions belong to House Goliath, and we do have two Bruisers that are moving up. Turn 1 concludes, and a potential missed opportunity there from the Ironhead Prospectors should have fired that Seismic Crusher. We were looking at the Heavy Flamer, which is an unwieldy weapon, but the Seismic Crusher is a template weapon that can still fire. Lots of positioning in the opening turn, nobody hit by fire. We look forward to priority rolls for turn 2. The squats will take it, reinforcements coming onto the board for House Goliath placed by the defender. And with the priority, the Prospectors unleash the Heavy Flamer targeting Steel Toe. Nerves of Steel allow him to roll to avoid being pinned. That's successful on a 4+. At Strength 5, Toughness 5, it's forced a wound, which is good. There is an ammo check that will need to be taken for the weapon, and it fails. The result is 1 wound on Steel Toe. The Blaze roll is unsuccessful, and Steel Toe will activate next, using an action to move up to the corner, targeting the Chartermaster. Steel Toe readies his plasma pistol, aims at the head, but it's a small target, and he misses, needing anything but a 1. Up next we have Thornton reacting to this movement as he shuffles over. Got his Ironhead Bolter firing down at Steel Toe. It is a hit. The ammo check has failed. It is rapid fire 2, so we roll out another one. It'll be 4 hits in total at Strength 4. Nerves of Steel roll is passed for Steel Toe. He's Toughness 5, so there's only 2 wounds out there needing 5s. Furnace plates are failed. We do have our first tactics card that is played, Unstoppable Behemoth. Before the injury roll, the attack has no further effect. So Steel Toe able to shrug off a potential 4 wounds there, and we move back to House Goliath. We have Buster, who is aiming his grenade launcher down to a 3, firing it up at the terrain. That's a -2 penalty, so we'll need 5s to connect. The shot is directly on target, hitting both of the Prospectors. The knockback on Grom is successful, but there will not be a wound. We roll for a knockback on Thornton, which is successful, and he will take no wound as well. Thornton will fail an initiative check within ½ inch of a ledge, and he will plummet, but there will be no wound. Thornton falls off the ledge and smacks the ground. We move back over to the Ironhead Prospectors, where Grom is going to pick himself up, getting to his feet. His next action is to fire across the board. He is targeting the Zerker, who is in full cover, so we'll need 6s. And he does get a 6 here, landing the hit. Rapid fire 2. We roll out the wound on that first one, which it misses. He's Toughness 6. We do roll out 2 more for rapid fire. He needs 6s, though, to get a wound. Not successful. The Zerker will go down pinned, and sometimes that's enough. We move back over to House Goliath, where they have some of their Bruisers. We've got one moving up here. He will use his second action to open up the door. The Chartermaster Pike activates, announces a charge into Steel Toe. He's taken out a Corpse Grinder Butcher. Why not a Forge Tyrant? He's got a Power Fist and a Stub Gun for 4 attacks in total. He hits on 3, so 1 and 1 out there. The Stub Gun needs a 5 to wound, and it fails. The Power Fist does not at Strength 5 against Toughness 5. A 1's not going to wound anything. They use Lucky Shot to re-roll, getting a 4. AP 2 against Furnace Plates leads to a Flesh Wound. The Pulverize roll is not successful, and Steel Toe makes reaction attacks with his axe and Plasma Pistol. Everything hits. The Plasma Pistol needing 3s to wound. Not good. Pike has Iron Jaw against AP- weapons. This takes his toughness to 6 against them. The axe is hitting at Strength 6, so 4s to wound. There will be 1. Mesh Armor save is failed, and Pike will take a wound. These 2 leaders are in a fight that will last until the next turn. Up next, House Goliath activates Drac. The Bruiser fires his stub cannon and hits into the back of the Driller. That is going to do a wound. The save is failed with Light Carapace, and he takes a wound. Meanwhile, the squats activate Jarl, who fires at the Bruiser with a grenade launcher. He is just outside of short range, so getting a -1 plus full cover, that means 6s. At rapid fire 3, the shot just misses. Meanwhile, the Stemmer uses both actions to move up behind the Forge Tyrant. Ullman, with his stub gun, is going to use an action to move. He will use his second action to target one of the Bruisers with his stub gun. The shot is going to miss. We do have another Bruiser from House Goliath now, electing to use both actions to move. Orin, the Prospector with a Melt-A-Gun, is going to just pass on his turn, not sure what to do, just really keeping them at bay with the Melt-A-Gun. We then have Humongous that is going to move, followed up by the rest of the Goliath activations. Turn 2 comes to a close, and Turn 3 priority rolls are going to be pretty significant, as we do have some combat that is taking place between the two leaders of their respective gangs. At this point, the Ironhead Prospectors are second-guessing their deployment, as on the ground there's a lot of muscle moving in for House Goliath. I'm not sure how much longer they will be able to hold on. Turn 3 priority is a tie, so it goes to House Goliath. We've got a group activation called by the leader, and the Stemmer will activate first. He launches into combat with the Chartermaster. He unleashes 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, getting an assist from Steel Toe. There are 5 successes, wounding on 3s at Strength 6. AP1 takes Mesh Armor to a 6-up save. They all fail. A lot of injury dice coming out here for Pike. After he cuts through his wounds, he goes out of action. The Chartermaster rolls a 33, going into convalescence, while Scud, the Stemmer, consolidates. A nearby cool check from the Exo Driller is good. With the next part of this group activation, Steel Toe is going to fall back, getting out of line of sight from some of the guys at the top, and fires his plasma pistol. He targets the Exo Driller, lands a hit at short range. Ammo check is failed, so the plasma gun's out of ammo. That 4 is a wound against toughness 5. The light carapace armor makes the save, however. Up next, Jarl fires his unwieldy heavy stubber down at Scud, the Stemmer. Rapid fire 3. 2 ammo checks are required. One of them is successful, so that means the gun is just out of ammo. The Stemmer passes Nerves of Steel to avoid being pinned, but has 5 shots to deal with. The Heavy Stubber's Strength 4 against his Toughness of 5. There's only 1 wound, needing 5s. The Furnace Plates are failed. He ends up taking a wound. Activations move back to House Goliath. Nuke fires a stub cannon and hits his target. Goes down pinned and knocked back. Fails to wound, however. Next, Grom repositions up top, using an action to move, and he is going to target one of the Bruisers with his Ironhead autogun. The results with Rapid Fire 2 are going to be 3 total hits, and that is going to result in 2 wounds. Furnace Plates can't get it done. He goes down with a serious injury, takes a flesh wound. A nearby cool check is good. House Goliath activates Scorch next, who moves forward with his Rivet Cannon, dials that up to the max, and fires down. He gets +2 for being short range, easily lands a hit. It is Strength 6, so 3s to wound. There is no wound. Blaze Roll is going to be successful. We've then got Ullman, who is going to move forward with his first action. He's going to fire his stub gun, and that shot is going to hit. Ammo check will be failed. It does need 5s to wound, and he gets it. Furnace Plate save 5 up is going to fail. So an injury die here rolled for the Bruiser, and he goes out of action from a stub gun. That is Drac, and he will be hobbled. Cool check taken next door and passed. Things continue to heat up as Buster fires a frag grenade. He aims. This does hit. There's no knockback, and there's also no wound. That shot at Ullman is going to result in a pin. Just next door we have Thornton, who is also pinned on the ground. He's going to use an action to get to his feet, and his second is going to be to move. This draws the attention of a Goliath Bruiser toting a stub cannon. He moves into a firing position, and fires, needing a 4. The shot hits and the wound roll is good, needing 3s. Armor save is going to fail, so an injury die will be rolled up here, and it is a serious injury. A nearby cool test will need to be taken, and that's passed. On the other side of the board, Orin is going to take a strength 3 hit, which wounds. His armor can't save him. This is from Blaze. He takes a wound, runs in a random direction before falling to the ground, attempts to put out the flames, but is unsuccessful. House Goliath repositions one of their fighters before the Seismic Crusher fires from the Exo Driller. We do roll up for Nerves of Steel here, but it is not applicable, and we will fix that. At Strength 2, there's no wound. House Goliath has the rest of the activations, moving fighters around, getting into position, readying up for Turn 4. As Turn 3 wraps up, we did see out of actions from both sides. House Goliath unable to fail a bottle check for the Ironhead Prospectors will roll 2 and discard the highest. While there is no bottle, we will roll for recovery. Thornton is going to stay down with a serious injury, but take a flesh wound. And then we have one of the bruisers for House Goliath. He will take a flesh wound as well. In making his recovery roll, we noticed that we did not activate him in the last turn, so while he is going to recover, we are going to allow him to crawl, as he could have done this, and that will allow him to get out of line of sight from the Prospectors up top. Turn 4 priority rolls, we're going back to the Prospectors. And up first, the Exo Driller is going to use an action to move. Second is going to be to lay down that Seismic Crusher template, looking to pin a lot of Goliath fighters. This is where we catch that the Goliath Stemmer should have been pinned. He is not going to take a wound. None of the other fighters are going to take wounds, only Strength 2 coming from this template. Up next, Scorch aims his Rivet Cannon to a 3. Full cover takes it to a 5. The shot does miss. The ammo check is good. We've got Grom moving next, and he elects to fire his Ironhead autogun. His shot will miss. Ajax activates, attempts to jump down, but fails an initiative check and falls. He takes a Strength 3 hit, but there's no wound. We do allow him to stand, which I don't think is allowed, as the activation should be over. Up next for the Prospector, Jarl is going to reload his Stubber. He is then going to use his second action to move. From below, Buster loads a Crack Grenade and fires, but his shot will miss. Squads activate Orin next, who is going to take that Strength 3 hit from being on fire. There's no wound. He runs in a random direction before falling down, attempts to put out the fire, but it fails again. House Goliath covers more ground, and then we have a pass on the Prospector activation. Next we have Steel Toe firing his stub gun into the Exo Driller. He is going to land a hit, but no wound. The impact of the bullet is enough to pin the Exo Driller. House Goliath will command the rest of the activations. The Stemmer Scud is going to get to his feet and use his second action to move forward. We'll also see Humongous get to his feet and climb the ladder. It looks like he may be attempting to potentially jump onto the second level. We also have the Bully Thrash using an action to open the door. His second is to move through. On the other side of the board, Nuke is going to get to his feet and then move to the ladder. That concludes turn 4, and now it's becoming crunch time for House Goliath. They really need to start working to get into positions, as we only go until the end of turn 6. We will see a bottle test, 2d6, discarding the highest. It is still good. Thornton rolls over with a flesh wound thanks to an assist. Priority rolls stay with the Prospector as we go to turn 5. And we see a shot right off the bat as Grom elects to fire his Ironhead autogun. It is rapid fire 2. With 4 total hits, he does need 5s to wound, and he gets 2 of them. The furnace plates will block 1, and it looks like Ajax will take a wound. This was a group activation called by Jarl, who recently reloaded that Ironhead stubber. He fires rapid fire 3 at Humongous. He sinks 3 hits, 2 out of ammo rolls. He does fail 1, so the weapon is out of ammo again. We don't see any wounds needing 5s, but an initiative test is failed by Humongous and he falls on top of Steel Toe. There is no wound on Humongous. Steel Toe goes down pen and takes a hit as well, and he is wounded. 6 up for Furnace Plates is failed, and an injury die will come out for Steel Toe. He is going down with a serious injury. With a cool test from Humongous being good, the Stemmer Scud launches into combat with the Exo Drill. 8 attacks come across on 2s, all of them hit. 3s are needed to wound. The Light Carapace Armor gets a 5-up save at AP 1. After cutting through his 3 wounds, the Exo Drill is going to take 2 flesh wounds and still remains active. A roll for Pulverize is not successful. The Exo Drill will make 2 attacks of his own and reaction attacks, hitting on 4s. Both of them will hit. He is unable to wound the Stemmer, however, needing 5s. Next we have Ullman, who is going to use his first action to move forward. His second will be to fire a stub gun, attempting to just get a pin on this Ganger. The shot is true, just needs 3s to wound with his reduced toughness. The Bruiser takes 2 wounds, saves 1 with Furnace Plates in the front, but another injury die will roll out and it will be another flesh wound. Up next, Buster is going to aim, switching back to a frag grenade, and fires. The weapon runs out of ammo and the shot scatters 9 inches. Unfortunately for House Goliath, this 9 inches goes right on top of the Zerker, Humongous, and their leader Steel Toe. We roll for unsuccessful knockbacks. There will be a wound on Steel Toe. Furnace Plate save is going to be failed, and an injury die comes out here again. He ends up taking a flesh wound. We roll for a knockback on the Zerker as well as a wound, which are both failed. In combat, the Exo Driller, 2 attacks, misses on both. Reaction attacks come back across, 3 are good. That is going to lead to 2 wounds. Light Carapace Armor saves are both made at AP 1. The Driller will then successfully reload his Heavy Flamer. Meanwhile, for House Goliath, we have a Bruiser moving twice. We've then got Orin rolling up for that Strength 3 Blaze hit. That does not wound. He is going to run in a random direction before falling down, attempts to put out the fire, and finally it is successful. House Goliath continues to send their fighters forward, moving twice. Up next we have Thornton, who aims and fires his Ironhead bolter, and it looks like an ammo check will be required. It will be failed. As the shots fail to wound, Ajax gets to his feet and moves underneath the walkway. Remaining activations go to House Goliath. We have a stub cannon shot that is going to miss. Humongous will get to his feet, but staying near Steel Toe to lend him an assist. We then have Scorch that once again fires that rivet cannon at Orin. He is going to land a hit. At Strength 6, the wound roll is successful. It's enough to cut through his mesh armor here, so no need to roll for a save. It's going to be 3 damage due to rending. Orin, taken down to his last wound, rolls up for an out of action. The result will be 46, which is hobbled, and that brings us to the end of this turn. As we approach the final turn, House Goliath now realizing that they have taken it way too casually, gotten bottled up by the Prospectors in the middle of the board. We do see Steel Toe with an assist rolling back over on his 3rd flesh wound. Bottle checks were good again. The Prospectors will take turn 6 priority. And we do see Grom, who is going to move and fire with his Ironhead autogun. The shot does miss. Ajax is going to charge from the shadows going into Ullman. He launches a bevy of attacks from his Chainsword and Servo Claw, hitting on 3s. The Servo Claw is going to wound twice. The Chainsword is not going to wound. Ullman is deleted as Ajax consolidates. He rolls up for a 35, which is Convalescence. Nearby Thornton passes a cool check and then activates, just moves because he doesn't have any ammo. A stub cannon shot rips from Nuke. He does aim, offset by partial cover, shot misses. We then go into melee. The Exo Driller hits once but fails to wound. Reaction attacks come back from the Stemmer. He hits on all 4. He will wound on 2. Carapace Armor cannot make the save this time. The Exo Driller is going to be taken down with a serious injury and receives a 3rd flesh wound. Steel Toe then takes a shot with his plasma gun, hoping to do something, but he ends up missing, needing a 5. Jarl activates next. He is still out of ammo. He is just going to attempt to move. Next, the Stemmer Scud takes out the Exo Driller, rolls a 54. That'll be multiple injuries. We then have Buster attempting to reload his grenade launcher. That is successful, and he is able to fire it, but it misses, firing a crack grenade. Up top on the walkway, a stub cannon shot from a Ganger is going to hit. Roll to wound, needing 3s is good. The save has failed, he is knocked back and pinned, and out of action is rolled, with a 12 being the result. House Goliath doing everything they can to lay down as much punishment as possible to get this gang to bottle. Another stub cannon fires from the back of the board but misses. Ammo check is good. We conduct remaining moves for House Goliath, but home turf advantage. You roll 2d6, discard the highest, and it looks like the Prospectors roll up for a 1 on their bottle. They are still hanging in this game. With the end of turn 6, since they do have fighters still standing and active on the board, they are going to take the victory in this game. The lights are cut, pitch black ensues. The Ironhead Prospectors are able to sneak away in the cover of night. A very hard-fought battle for both sides. House Goliath did all they could to try to take victory today, but home turf advantage, the Ironhead Prospectors just weren't having it. These squads are stubborn to the last. They were able to get away without a ton of injuries. We've got the post-game report coming up where we'll discuss all that and more. Alright, and that wraps up episode 21. 21 episodes deep in this season. Ironhead Prospectors will come away with a victory today. At some point in this battle report, House Goliath did use the tactics card Ironhide. I think it was on one of the shots that went on Steel Toe, where it essentially makes that attack just do 1 damage. I'm not sure where, as I might have missed the footage or just mis-narrated something, but we do have it marked off and I know it was used. The board layout in this one, and we set up the boards randomly, just really made it tough for House Goliath to secure a victory, as there was that tall point in the middle, and there was really only 2 ways up to that. I really started to second-guess deployment for the Prospectors, feeling like I left too many fighters on the ground, but in the end, the Exo Driller did a really good job with the templates to kind of bottle House Goliath up. I think looking at it in hindsight, my son would not have clumped together all of those big fighters on the same side. This is a game that really just comes down to that ever so important bottle roll, but with home turf advantage, rolling 2d6, discarding the highest, it just really makes it difficult to bottle, and even the Prospectors getting to keep a 1 there at the very end, that's essentially what kept them in this game, as if they would have bottled, they probably would have left the board, as they got beat up pretty good. House Goliath walks away with only 1 lasting injury on a bruiser, while the Ironhead Prospectors, they took a pretty bad beating, but they're actually going to walk away from this one in decent shape. In fact, 3 of their fighters will be in convalescence, which means they'll get to fight next week, and that includes the Exo Driller. And then the only really injury they had where someone is going to miss time was Oren. He does have the Melta, and he was hobbled. Speaking of the Melta, big misplay there on my part. That's 255 points that essentially did not even shoot this game. I've got to do much better with him in future games, getting him into a position where he can fire. In the end, we did have fun with this scenario. We did see, one of those things that you only see in a game of Necromunda, where the big Zerker falls on top of the leader and seriously injures him. That's one of those things you just gotta love, the game of Necromunda. But that wraps up this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. Supporters Club, your name's on the screen now. It's by no means necessary. I certainly appreciate you guys. If you've watched the video to this point, you've done more than enough to support my channel, so thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Take care.